Welcome to Let's Talk About Malware and Bad Code. This particular lecture is going to cover Chapter 3 of the Cybersecurity Essentials course, which is part of the Cisco Networking Academy that we have here at our community college. My name is Robert Doyle, and I will be your instructor for this. And remember, like the previous chapter, this is a generic interpretation of malware and bad code, and you can use it for any other kind of like security courses you have, or to teach others how to use it. So let's continue. Okay, in this one, the objectives are going to be malware in bad code. God, I cannot say that word. Trickery and attacks. First of all, we're going to cover malware and bad code. Okay, as probably many of you know, there are viruses, worms, and Trojan horses. Viruses happen like when you click on a bad link on Facebook and you click on an executable file and it starts it up. Worms kind of like dig their way through over time, gathering information and making themselves part of your machine, and as you browse, they get more stuff. Trojan horses are just like back in history. They are there until they need to be executed. Like the 2000 virus that was supposed to happen to everybody, and all these other things that came out. So these are the three common ones, but we have logic bombs, which awake from code, time, dates, ransomware, which is really dangerous because this is where they hold your computer hostage because they want you to pay money to unencrypt codes that they have done. And then of course we have backdoors and rootkits. Backdoors are basically when people come work on the machines, or friends, whatever, they can create backdoor accounts into your thing. And rootkits are like for your iPhones, where they hack the actual software and they plant software that will allow them to log in at any given time whenever they wish to. So that's why these three are also very dangerous, especially the malware one. The ransomware ones. This is one that has been causing havoc throughout the world. And everybody knows spam, and I'm not talking about the canned meat. Spam has actually died down quite a bit. I tell people, whenever you visit a site that you are not familiar with, always give an email that you don't use typically. So like I use Yahoo, Google, Hotmail type things. That way, if they do attack you, you can check the accounts and delete them. Spyware is just software that is on your computer, like keyloggers that log what you type in, keystrokes, trackers, and they track what you do. I don't want you to be scared about these things. The whole thing about this is just have an antivirus program, malware software that will prevent or block these things. But please do not run too many of these at one time, because they will start targeting each other. So your antivirus program might start targeting your malware program and so forth. I personally run one of each, and that's it. So just be aware of that and be cautious. Adware is basically, like I mentioned before, when you're on Facebook and you click on an ad, it takes you to another site or it downloads something. Scareware is something that is supposed to be fear-based, which means it will look like part of your operating system, and you'll click on it and say, click here to remove antiviruses. Don't ever do that. Always close it or restart your machine, because those are what they do. Scareware is basically designed to make you feel like, oh, I have something really bad, I have to click this to get rid of it. No, don't do that. Just telling you now. Phishing is basically phishing. They throw out emails to people asking them, your account has been compromised, please send me emails. Most companies will never ask for your email or personal information on email, ever. So don't do it. Spear phishing, which is right here, is where they are targeting certain people within the organization to get the information from them. So they're spearing their information and saying, I want your information only. So phishing is like a generic everybody. Spear phishing is a targeted attack towards email type people. Wishing is a thing that where they do a spoof calling, where they call you, and they can get it over voice over IP, because if they can hack into your computer through IP, they can hack over your phone through IP. So to be careful there. Farming is when you go to a website and it doesn't quite look right, and you're going, not quite right. Well, what they're doing is they are copying your websites, and trust me, I can do this. I can make any website I want look like legitimate. So be very careful there. And willing is, like I mentioned before, high profile targets, presidents of organizations, senior executives, so forth. So be careful when you do, or when you get those kind of emails or phishing attacks from people, because those are the ones that could be the most dangerous if the CEO, president does not know what is happening at the given time. Plugins, everybody knows Flash. Flash causes issues. Flash is hopefully being phased out. Shockwave, same thing. HTML5 is supposedly supposed to handle most of the new things that are happening out there. And then, of course, you have search engine optimization. This is where search engines come in and they change your ranking of what you're searching for to where other sites pop up first. So let's say you're looking for, like, say, Walmart.com, and something comes up. It doesn't quite look right, but because you have this, what is called a SEO, it will pull up a fake site that looks kind of like it. And then hijack browsing is, how many times have you been on your computer, you type in a website, and all of a sudden you're somewhere else? Hijack browsing, yes, that is what is happening. And basically, like it says here, browser hijacking usually installs without the user permission and is usually part of a drive-by download, which means when you download these free games that you think are free, they install stuff. As soon as you say, I agree to the terms, they install things to your machine, and guess what? You have browser hijackers. Remember, things are no longer free on the internet. That's just the way it was. In the old days, free things were free because they wanted people to understand what they were selling, what they were doing, and why you wanted to try the game, such as freeware, shareware, those kind of things. But anymore, don't ever do anything free unless you know exactly what is happening. And it's sad because a lot of people see free and it's like, oh, free. No, not anymore. I'm sorry, folks. Not anymore. Okay, let's move on to trickery. Okay, so now we're here with the biggest thing, social engineering. Social engineering is where most companies get in trouble because people will come up and ask you for names, weaknesses, color of your car, high school graduated from, pet's name, dumpster diving. They will feed on people's need to answer questions. Don't do this. Be very careful. And also watch out for people that look over your shoulders and what you're doing. Pretexting here is another thing where they call and they identify that they've been attacked, what's happening, don't do it. Also, something for something. This is when an attacker requests information from a party in an exchange for something else. This is kind of like, let me say it to you, you've won a mansion in New Mexico. All you have to do is this and this and this. But if you don't get it, you will win these prizes. Remember that scheme back in the day? That is what that is. So be very careful of these quad promo type events. Trickery, like I mentioned before, shoulder surfing. People looking over your shoulders, what you're doing. And dumpster diving is probably the biggest one where, excuse me, a lot of companies would throw stuff away. They won't delete them, and all of a sudden, people will dump them. And most states, or a lot of states, once you put it on the street, it has become public domain, which means anybody that walks by it can go through it. So be very careful. Impersonation and hoaxes. This is where people claim to be who somebody else and blah blah blah. Piggy tail and tailgating. This occurs when authorized people gain interest to areas that they shouldn't be, and they practice and they give it to other people to do that. Online email trickery, forwarding emails, jokes. If you ever get the joke of the day and forward it, please don't do that. These are ones where all you're doing is moving the virus or whatever they have along to other people. And when you get those things, if you do not post my email within a certain amount of days, you'll be cursed. No, don't do that. That's probably the most common way that people say, I need to forward this to 20 people. Well, guess what you did? You forwarded it to 20 people. So that's all I'm going to say on that subject. Okay, attacks. Attacks can be done by denial of service, which means attacks are done by devices in your home, like say your new refrigerator, your TV, your DVR, whatever. They are pointed towards certain areas to go to, like say your refrigerator would go towards your supermarket. They divert all of these attacks and point it towards one target to attack. Denial of service attacks are big time. They don't do nothing to the person that's being attacked. It just becomes an inconvenience. So just remember, inconvenience. Sniffing, on the other hand, is when you eavesdrop on somebody where you can actually see what's happening with them, what they're downloading, uploading, and like that. And believe it or not, that can be accomplished as easy as using a program called Wireshark, which is a common program used by many schools and organizations to track what's happening with the organization. And last but not least is spoofing, which is an attack that you have a trust between two people. So you go in as, like, say, me, and you spoof that you're myself, and my organization thinks it's you, and they allow you to log in, which means that they only have a single authentication method and not a dual or multi-authentication method. And that's what is weak in a lot of organizations is once you log in, you're in. But higher organizations will have login, fingerprint, something physical to allow them to get into the system. Man-in-the-middle attacks are perfect examples of, say you go to Starbucks and they have free internet and you log in. Are you logged into Starbucks? Maybe, maybe not. Man-in-the-middle attacks can impersonate themselves to be organizations that you are logging into, but as you are logging into them, they are stealing your information. That's why it's called man-in-the-middle, because they are between you and the organization you are connecting to. Zero-day attacks, I think I mentioned this before in a previous chapter. This is known threats by a company, and they are doing what they can to fix them. This is why I mentioned before, you need to do updates. I know you hate it. It's time consuming, and there's a lot of them, but it's something you have to do. Keyloggers are programs on your computer that will track your keystrokes. So even though on the screen your password is those little zeros or not there, keyloggers will track your keystrokes. The more advanced ones can now track your actual video of what you're looking at. Most companies, I hate to say this, will use keyloggers for just to see what their employees are doing. It is legal because they have the right to load what they want. But keyloggers are something that most antivirus programs for your home machine and personal use will detect or block. But keyloggers are very dangerous, and that's how a lot of companies get into what they're doing. Or, I'm sorry, a lot of hackers get into what they're doing and what you're doing. Wireless attacks, mobile, you have grayware, which is an ominous manner. It recognizes and cancels it. Grayware is a problem area because it is very popular software. Grayware is kind of like white hat hacking, black hat hacking. It's something that is now used in mobile devices. Shimmer Shining is a social media source type thing for short messaging services. It is used to attach to messages that you are sending to people, pictures, videos. So be very careful if you're doing social media. And if you have a mobile device, you want to make sure that that device also has antivirus program and malware software. Believe it or not, your phone needs that, or tablet or notebook. Okay, finally, rogue access points, or like I mentioned earlier, go to Starbucks, it's a free connection, you connect. Well, rogue site could be something that is not there, or you're logging into it and not realizing. RF jammers are where they block the signal totally, where you can't do nothing but connect to certain things that they want you to do. And of course, we have bluejacking and snarfing. This is all related to Bluetooth that is on your devices. What it does is it takes your Bluetooth and it will hijack. Remember, Bluetooth is always searching for a connection. So on your device, whether it be phone, tablet, if you have Bluetooth turned on, and if you're not using a Bluetooth device, turn it off. And that will help prevent this from happening. Here's some encryption types. Don't ever use WEP for your wireless. You want to use a higher one like WPA or WPA2. These are the encryption types that they use to keep people out. Remember how I mentioned earlier, even with the most advanced technology, you can and still will be hacked. It is something that is not possible to prevent, but you can make yourself safer by doing the most current technology possible. And also too, a lot of companies have a DMZs or demilitarized zones. What these do is a company will have a DMZ, and what that does is if it gets attacked, they can see how the attacker is attacking their email or web services, and then they can plot a defense against it. A lot of companies are dropping these because of cloud-based, but I try to inform them that if you have a local server, you should keep this in place, because this shows you how you are getting attacked and prevent it. If you don't have a DMZ, when you get attacked, you are getting attacked. And of course, VLANs, like I mentioned earlier in an earlier chapter, you can get VPNs that will that will help your connection be safe, both cabled and wireless. And there are many companies out there. Just Google them, but be careful of where the company is in the world, because most VPNs are not in the US, so just be careful, or check their jurisdiction to make sure they are where you want them to be. Okay, cross-site scripting is just another. All of these here are programming issues. So if you're a programmer or if you're doing database type stuff, you want to make sure that you are protected against cross-site scripting. Injector thing, which means that what this does is this will inject fake information in this site to try to exploit what they're doing. And the buffer overflow means it's going to try to make your computer crash by sending so much information that your computer's RAM can't handle it, therefore shutting it down or making a reboot to a generic state that it can be hacked again. These are more of a programmer type issue. Remote code execution, Facebook, whatever, make sure you don't download whatever you want. ActiveX controller, Java, a lot of these are being ended because they are dangerous, and a lot of them are being replaced by HTML5 or new technology. These are older, kind of like database controllers that you do, and you want to make sure you be very careful of what's happening. Virtual machines are coming out with new types of deterrents that will keep that from happening. And of course, the first line of defense is going to be write solid code. Make sure you don't, make sure that you know what's happening, validate the input. And even though it's not on here, the biggest thing is run tests against as much as you can. Beta test it, alpha test it, make sure it's good, because otherwise you're going to be sending out updates like most companies do to fix, update. And even with all your vigilance, you will still be doing updates, unfortunately. So, completed a chapter. Like I said, this is just about threats, vulnerabilities, and attacks and countermeasures. And so I'm hoping that you get something out of this. Like I said, this is a quickly done summary of what the chapter covers, but I wanted to cover the key issues and put in my own thoughts about what was happening and why you need to know this. Thank you.